all kinds of fruit, feed the cancer. So I had to eliminate everything. So, and at that point, I started noticing that I'm eating better, more alkaline foods, eating all green vegetables. I started juicing, and basically I'm juicing celery, ginger, garlic, kale, spinach, no carrots. I'm doing no apples, again, because of the sugars in them. I'm doing a little bit of lemon in there, some collard greens, and cayenne pepper and cucumbers. So I'm doing all these every day. I'm juicing all these foods, plus I'm eating the foods. I'm eating salads every day. I'm eating tons of vegetables. My wife is constantly cooking vegetables, cooking broccoli, cooking asparagus and Brussels sprouts, and sauteing them up and then making the salads and soups and so forth. And then when I was hungry, people said, well, what'd you do when you were hungry? I ate some more vegetables. And I just kept eating more and more vegetables. So basically, I started pretty much feeling worse before I started feeling better. It was almost like a detoxification going on. So, and then after that, every day I just started feeling better and better and better and better. And it ended up where I got to the point where, I said, you know what, I need to go see my oncologist again. I need to go see how it's, what it looks like. And I went to go see him, and again, this time, I wanted to be awake. And I told him the time before, I said, there's no way I'm ever going to be awake. And he says, well, we're going to have to do a lot of these. And I says, at that time, again, I was very confident that he wasn't going to find anything. And he says, well, we're going to be doing a lot of these, so you're going to have to sometime be awake. I said, well, it'll never happen. Well, this time, I made the appointment afterwards. I said, I want to be awake because I want to see. Because again, all the pain, everything that, all the symptoms I felt, all the sensations I felt, what it was never really a pain except for a little burning here and there, but it was mostly a sensation of like just urgency and frequency to urinate, which is a normal feeling. And just something uncomfortable, just knew it wasn't right. And all those things just disappeared, and I basically felt perfectly normal again. So at that point I said, okay, I'm going to go see him, and I went ahead and I made the appointment, went to see him. He put the scope in at this time, and he says, Mr. Marra, he goes, he started looking around. He says, everything looked good. He says, but there's some 3 red areas there. And I says, okay. He says, now those are areas of concern. And then he says, now those can be carcinoma in situ, which is the beginning of cancer. I said, I know what that is. He says, now we can take and we can biopsy those. Right away I looked at him, I says, no, you're not. And he looks at me and I says, matter of fact, I think it looks good, considering what I've been through with the 2 surgeries to remove the tumors and the BCG treatments. And, he's looking really intently, and we're not finding anything. We see a couple little scars. Much at that point, again, I went back, and then, because again, cancer, like I said, it's not a death sentence. It's just a warning sign. It's basically to tell us that, look, we need to make a major change. We've got too much stress. We've got we're eating too many of the wrong foods. And again, out there, because like I showed before, all these foods that are tainted with GMOs, they're tainted with the preservatives, the pesticides, the herbicides, and everything else. That's half the recipe. And then when we go through stressful events in our life, and pretty much repeatedly and over and over, and then that in combination is what causes the cancer to develop. Then once we get the cancer, either or will feed it. And again, we go to our doctors, and what do? They give us more medication that basically creates more acidosis that feeds the cancer. And then again, that just masks the problem instead of getting to the root cause of the problem. And then on top of it, they scare you into where you have more stress, obviously, of diagnosis or worrying about getting cancer or having a serious illness. And all those stresses just feed whatever condition you have, and it actually fed, in my case, it fed the cancer. So again, it was a matter of then eliminating it all 100%. And that was the hard part. Again, sticking to the diet, and of course, getting rid of the stress. But some of the things I did, stop driving, stop watching the TV, whatever I had to do to get rid of the stress, that's what I did. But again, you have to do it like your life depends on it, because it does. And real quick stories, my father had the same situation where he was, again, urinating blood. And this was about a year ago. And I told him, I said, well, 2 things, you can go to urologist, and I knew exactly what they'd find because his PSA was up and he was basically not eating all the right foods. So long story short, he went ahead and he went on the same diet I did, eating nothing but vegetables and water. And it took him, after about 10 days, all his visible blood was gone. And after about 2 weeks, all the microscopic blood was gone. And after about a month and a half, pretty much he was back to normal. He wasn't getting up at all at night, and his bladder was feeling perfect. And pretty much, and even a year later now, he's back to his old diet, eating what he wants. Now he watches. I told him, you have to watch. I said, you can't be drinking, that much and eating all that food again. And he does, and he feels great now. And that's one of the stories that's good. And again, it's pretty much, it's when we're upset, when we're stressed out, that's when we really have to watch. We don't have to watch so much if we're not upset. Like today, I ate everything that was here, which is all good. And again, because we can't go through life not worrying about, having to stay on this one diet and not having to worry about the cancer coming back. Because one thing I prayed for was for the wisdom of Solomon, to know what caused it, how to cure it, and how to keep it from coming back. And what I do now to keep it from coming back is basically when I go through periods in my life that I'm stressed out or I'm upset, I just won't eat those foods that I know are harmful. I eat mainly good vegan foods, vegetables mostly, if I'm going to eat at all, or I just won't eat if I'm that upset. And you just don't mix the combination together. And then when I'm not stressed, like today, just nervous, but other than that, not stressed, I can eat what I want, and I don't have to worry about it harming my body. Just like if I wash my hands with bleach, it's not going to do any harm as long as I don't have any cuts on it. Now, if I have cuts all over it, it's going to hurt. Well, as long as I don't have stress, the food isn't going to do as much damage as if we do have the stress. And it's the combination of the two. And again, there's so many things. What are stresses? It's psychological, there's physical stress, there's emotional stress, there's all kinds of stress that are in our lives. And that's what we have to look for. And a lot of them, honestly, it just, people say, well, how do you do it? Well, first of all, the first step for me was to go to God, obviously. And then the second step is just one by one, I started chiseling away at them. And pretty much until, you're at peace. And then at that point, once the body alkalizes itself, then the body can heal. And it's the only time the body can heal, basically, is when it's alkaline. Do I have any questions? Yes?
From the time you started on your water and vegetable diet, was it like 4 months till it cleared up? It only took 4 months, or did it take 8 months?
After I started my vegetable diet, it took about 4 months to clear up. At 4 months is when I went to see my oncologist, and that's when he saw that there were just those little spots in there. They were just pink spots, and there was just where he had taken the tumors out to do the pathology. That's where they were just healed over, and that was about 4 months.
Did you exercise during this time too?
No, did I exercise? No. Here's the other thing. Again, I tried to keep my pH up. When I noticed that all kinds of stress, even physical stress, create acidosis in the body and would lower the body's pH. And again, I was struggling with that. And the biggest part of it, creating that acidosis, was my emotional and psychological stress. But the other part of it was, again, the diet. And I would do the baking soda. But that's it. Yeah, thank you. Yes?
Had you ever gone to or considered an alternative therapist? Either a doctor or a chiropractor that does alternative therapy?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it in my talk. Yeah, I went to go see a holistic doctor, and it was Dr. Todd Pesic, actually. He was a local doctor here in Lyndhurst. And I went to see him, and that's when I changed my diet to all organic, and he was giving me the supplements I needed to help build my immune system up. I was taking a lot of iodine, I was going in for vitamin C IVs, or vitamin D injections. Those IVs, I would go there for 2 hours pretty much and just sit there with an IV in me, and they would pump twice a week. They would just pump vitamin C right into my blood to help build my immune system up. So all these little things, and again, those are all in the book, little things that I did to help build my immune system up to basically allow the body to beat the cancer itself. Because see, instead of cutting the cancer out, it's like if you have a canker sore or a pimple. Instead of cutting it out and then waiting for the new skin to grow and heal, what we do is we just leave it alone and let the body heal itself. Well, it's the same thing with cancer. When we get cancer, all they are is cells trying to heal themselves, but get disrupted in the process. And what disrupts that process basically is everything, pretty much stress, and all the carcinogens in the food will feed that cancer. So what we need to do is get out of the way. It's just like if we get a canker sore and we continue to eat tomatoes, it'll never heal. But as soon as we stop eating anything citrus or acidy and allow it to heal, the body will heal itself. And the same thing with cancer. Once we get out of the way of the healing process, which is the acidosis in the body, creating acidosis, once we alkalize the body by eliminating stress and eating the right foods, the body will then heal itself. Yes?
How did you test your pH?
I tested my pH with urine test strips. I found them when I first found them. I went to a pharmacist I knew and asked them, and I did my research online and I found there were 10 parameter, and they basically were testing for glucose and they were testing for microscopic blood. I got it mainly for microscopic blood, and then on the strip was for pH, and that's when I noticed when my pH was low. I had to raise it up, and I used that to indicate every void I would test my urine, and if it was low, the pH, I would do a little more baking soda or whatever I had to do, and more juicing to increase that pH and keep my pH above 7.5, so that once the pH is above 7.5, like some of those other doctors said, that the cancer cannot grow or thrive in that type of environment. It's just like a clean swimming pool. If you keep the pH and the chlorine balance in a swimming pool, basically you'll never get algae or bacteria. Having a swimming pool for 18 years, I kept keeping that in balance. I had to do the same thing with my body, making sure that my body was always a consistent 7.5 pH. And again, a lot of it wasn't just eating the right foods. Again, the biggest part of it was getting rid of the stress too, because stress created acidosis.
Where did you buy the strips?
I bought them through Amazon. There's some links on my blog. I've got a blog. If you go to my website, cancerescapee.com, there's links to my blog, and then in the blog there's also links to Amazon to the websites to check for the pH strips.
Website one more time, Cancer Escapee.
cancerescapee.com.
Some of
Any
the
questions?
top alternative cancer doctors recommend the following: Corleo's mushrooms, curcumin, cottage cheese mixed with flaxseed, Rhodosal noni juice, baking soda, which you mentioned, oxygen, Asiatic tea, apricot kernels, dandelion roots, barley leaf, and magnets. Do you agree with that?
Pretty much, yeah, I did them all. I did apricot seeds, I did all the vitamins, I did the Asiatic tea. I was doing that and boiling all that. I mean, I did the hydrogen peroxide therapy, food grade hydrogen peroxide. You put a couple drops in the water and drink it like that. I was doing pretty much everything that's on. I even did the Budwig protocol, which was with the cottage cheese and flaxseed oil, which was disgusting, but I did it. And I did it all. I mean, pretty much you have to do it all, and I did it all 100%. And I think that's why it was effective, because it's not just doing one thing. And all those things in themselves are good, but they won't cure cancer. Again, the biggest thing that, again, if you don't do it, is the stress part. And again, you have to go to God with that one, because the emotional part, the psychological part is so important, because that creates acid in the body that I don't care how much baking soda like I was doing and how much, how much green vegetables I was eating and juicing I was doing, I wasn't able to get my pH up until I got my stress level down.
Tell the story about your grandma in Ireland.
Oh, you want me to tell that?
I'll Nancy tell that one first.
Hi everybody, I'm Nancy Marra. I'm better like this. Yeah, I can't. I need stools everywhere I go. My sister-in-law is from Belfast, Ireland, and her mom was given a death sentence with esophageal, I think that's the cancer, and she's in stage 4. And we sent the book 9 months ago, and it's totally reversed itself. She's going to live, but she did it 100,000% like we did. When John said that I cut, juiced, washed, chopped, juice, repeat, that's what we did. He did not cheat. If the body has the ability to infect itself, in other words, if sugar is present instead of oxygen, the cancer will grow. What John and I did was starve the ability for his cancer to grow. Oxygen starves the cancer, sugar feeds it. If there's a cell of sugar, it will grow again. Now my sister-in-law's mother, who's in Ireland, read the book, called my sister-in-law. It's working. We had a lady that when we had our little grocery store, she had her breast cancer. Her lump is gone. You can't cheat. People say you can eat anything else. No, greens. No carrots, no beets, no apples, no sugar, 0. You have to stick with it. And it's not like juicing and then you have a big sandwich afterwards. There is a time when John had gone to Florida with his father so that he could de-stress. Get away from the bills, get away from the job, get away from work. John had to de-stress because John is a stressful person. My husband's very gracious to all our family, and my husband's like the patriarch of all of us. His parents, my parents, excuse me. He had to de-stress. My father-in-law was with them and made a big vat of salad, right? They're going to sit down at dinner together. My father-in-law made dinner. John pulled a big vat of salad towards him and goes, "Where's yours?" My father-in-law goes, "It's for us." He goes, "No, this is mine," okay? That's what we did. That's what we did as a family. We went on lockdown. When I say we went on lockdown, no one believed what we were doing. No one believed that would work. John was always a daily communicant. That's what he fails to mention. He always believed in God. Always went to God. And when he came home, he knew that he was going to tell me he was going to die. It was the first time I had to tell my kids I didn't know what was going to go on. But I knew after 23 years of marriage that no meant no. And I wasn't going to talk him into this surgery. And there was no doctor in the world that understood that traditional marriage at that point. That doctor said, "Mrs. Marra, don't you understand? He's in a life-threatening situation. You have 4 children. Isn't that enough?" Because the doctor knew that our marital life would be over too, as an intimate couple. And I said, "Doctor, it has nothing to do with having more children or not having more children. My husband's desire to live a quality of life is what he wants." I said, "And I still have an 11-year-old at home that will know a very upset father and a very unhappy man that would have to either catheterize himself, because even if he had the best bladder in the world, because the best bladder was a $250,000 bladder, they were going to take out his prostate, his lymph nodes, his bladder, and 4 feet of his lower intestine, and give him a Neil bladder. And this Neil bladder was going to be made out of that lower intestine, and he was still going to have to catheterize here and there. Well, that's not John. That's just not John. He says, "Well, have the bag." I said, "Well, the bag has all these complications." I said, "And that's not John. I know who he is." So when I had to tell my kids, "I don't know if this is going to work, and you just have to pray for Dad, and we're going to go eat green, and we're going to eat green. We're not going to go save the earth green, not that kind of green. We're going to go eat green." Well, I watched my 21-year-old son, who had always suffered from acne. His acne basically disappeared almost overnight. I've had asthma all my life. I was on 8 medications a day, 8, when I was taking care of him. And I was forgetting to take my medications because my medications also prevent this rash from coming back that I had. And I was waking up with no rash, and I don't have asthma.